All right. We did it. We lined it up.
We're here.
Another episode of Confessions of a Street Broker. With me today is Mr. Reid Bassinger. What's up, man?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. This is I'm glad we got to finally get this on the calendar. People are, everyone's busy, and so I appreciate you taking the time to
absolutely
come by here, and I guess there's a lot. You really specialize in the larger logistics and supply chain type stuff, and a lot going on in that world right now.
Yeah, it's changing every day, and right now we're in this situation where we just keep kicking the can for 90 days, and everyone just wants to use the word uncertainty, and that's true. But so it's changing each day right now.
How are our landlords being cooperative with that?
It depends. I think the market's still bifurcated, right? And it's not all submarkets, not all markets are operating the same, not all sizes are operating the same.
Yeah.
I still think right now, like, landlords in a spot where they need to lease space, and I don't care what the coupon rate needs to be, but they're going to find a way to, whether it's concessions, free rent, whatever it may be, like, it's time to make a deal.
Yeah.
No one wants to keep carrying these buildings when you get some of these buildings out there that got two birthdays on it, right? With no tenant. So
with no tenant,
that carry starts to add.
Yes, absolutely. No, it's always hard to explain to more owner-user clients that they're like, why don't they just lease it to me cheap? They've been doing this for 2 years. And they're like, well, they built a spreadsheet, and they don't do what that spreadsheet says.
Yeah. I just keep telling these tenants, like, all these landlords, they all have their own motivations, right? And it may be, hey, what's my cap rate going to be at the exit, or whatever it may be. And maybe it's occupancy, but they all have their own motivations, and they all deliver this building at a certain time, and not everyone's debt looked the same. And so everyone's maybe either less motivated or more motivated, depending on what their situation is. So,
well, it's definitely, it feels good to be doing some tenant rep again.
It does, and it feels good for, I don't know, it's 12, 13 years, it feels like, where the tenants actually have some leverage. And they can, they're seeing the kind of chips fall back to them on the table a little bit, and they can hold out, right? Because before you felt bad asking for some of the items they wanted, because it was an easy no from the landlord, and if you didn't say yes, then there was 5 other guys behind you that were willing to. So right now that line's not there. So in a lot of cases right now, these tenants are the one or maybe the 2 prospects that some of these ownerships have.
Yes.
And again, that's not every submarket. That's not the same for everyone. But
all in all, it's been when I started in this, we used to just go kick landlords' teeth in. Give me a year of free rent.
On a 5-year deal, 6 months free. That was like that
was
came
standard.
That was first round proposal. Right? All right, now we're starting. Where are we going to get to?
And it sucked these past couple of years, because you go into a client working a renewal, and you're like, okay, here it is.
Yeah.
And then it sucks because on the tenant rep side, you don't feel like you're providing any value.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, it's cheaper than some other places.
Yeah. I don't know if I can improve this.
Yeah.
But we'll try.
Yeah.
3 years ago is the first time in the market where if you had a listing, and let's just say it's Prologis, and you're chasing a deal and you don't get it, and it goes to the building down the street, you had merit to say, okay, hey, we are asking $6. Let's raise our asking rate to $6.50, because now there's one less chip on the, there's one less option.
Yeah.
And there's more demand than there was availability. So we're not there right now.
Right. It was interesting, because a couple years ago it'd be like, hey, get me some comps. I'm like, I don't think comps matter right now.
No.
Because it's moving so quickly. It started moving at like stock market pace to a degree, which real estate does not move like that.
No, it was interesting for sure. There's people leasing space who've never seen the building, right?
Yeah.
Like, not even a physical tour. They just had their broker go out and video the space, send it back. It's like, okay, yeah, that shell works.
Yeah.
So It's pretty interesting.
No, it's I still work a couple tenant rep deals, and it's like, all right, I'm ready. I feel excited again, right?
Like roll your sleeves up.
Yeah,
all right, let's get after it.
Here's what we're gonna, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna negotiate multiple buildings. We're get that knife out.
Yeah, we're gonna put these landlords in the corner, and they're gonna want your business. That's what we want. Right?
That's right. So, that's right. So, well, man, let's start at the beginning with you.
Yeah,
where'd you grow up?
Grew up in Louisville.
Okay.
So deep.
Are you a fighting farmer?
Fighting farmer.
Okay.
Through and through. Yeah, both my parents went to Louisville, graduated Louisville. I live in Flower Mound now, so like I haven't gone far.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up there. It's kind of, it was like your Friday Night Lights, right? So we grew up, town stopped on Fridays. Everyone's at the football field. My really good buddy, his dad was a coach from 90 to 2005, whenever I graduated. Mm-hmm. So we were there, ball boys, all the way through it, state champions in 93, 96.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, just deep roots in Louisville, and that's all I know.
I was a ball boy. That was a lot of fun.
Oh man, it was a blast.
Yeah, I was a ball boy for all Jeff's teams. And
I thought it was so fun. Like, they would play rivalry games at the Cowboy Stadium, and then as you got in the playoffs, go to whether it's Waco or wherever. It was before doing all the AT&T stuff, but it was cool riding along the bus and getting in that environment.
You just made me think of a very funny story. So I was a ball boy on Jeff's teams, and Jeff and them lost in the second round of the playoffs to Arlington Lamar. Actually, lost to Isabella's dad.
Oh wow!
and there was they took a picture of Jeff sitting on the bench, like crying because it was over.
Yeah.
Anyways, this just it was in the Irving paper and all this stuff. So, anyways, Jeff goes to Rice. The next year, I'm still a ball boy, and we're sitting on the sidelines. We're on defense, so when the team's on defense, you're kind of good. You don't really, you're kind of just waiting for the change of possession. And there's this photographer there, and me and the other ball boy are standing there, and we're standing next to this photographer, and the photographer goes, "Is Jeff Mercer still on this team?" I go, "No, he's in college now." He goes, "Good. I'm glad they don't have that crybaby anymore." And I look at this dude and I said, "What'd you say, motherfucker?" He was like, "What?" I go, "That's my brother, bitch." And then the head coach is like, "What is going on out there? The ball boy's fixing to fight the cameraman from the Irving paper."
Oh man, that's great.
I was like in 7th grade or something. I was like, "I'm gonna whip your," and I was a big 7th. I was this size in 7th grade.
Okay.
I was like, "I'm gonna whip your ass, man."
Yeah, give you a lesson here. Oh, that's funny.
So, anyways, sorry to derail you, but you made me think of that.
No, that's funny.
This is funny stories. So,
No, I loved it. We there's a ton of tradition and pride with that school, and just being part of just around the football team was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But, especially as a young kid.
Yeah, it's good times.
So
after Louisville.
I thought I played baseball.
Okay.
And I was like, I wasn't like, I have a twin brother and a sister that's 16 months older.
Okay.
And we didn't have a ton of money. So we're trying to figure out how we're doing this, right? How 3 kids are going to get through school. And I thought I was going to I was holding out like, maybe there's a way I can play some baseball in school, like a D2, 3, something small, right?
Yeah.
I ended up tearing my shoulder and had surgery right after, but I went to community school and then ended up getting a partial scholarship to go to North Texas. So I went there. I worked through school, slinging drinks and waiting tables and all that. So I've been in this Denton County bubble all my life, and so I went up to North Texas, and my brother went up to OU, and my wife now was at OU as well. So I spent all my weekends up in Norman.
Do you still follow the Eagles much?
No. It's I enjoyed my time there, but for me it was a big commuter school, right? So I'd go up to school, I'd be in class all day, and I'd come home and just work. And you didn't really get plugged in there. Not a lot of community unless you really are on campus, and it's not a campus that has a ton of kids on site, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't really have that, but anyone that went to the game, like, I don't know if they actually went into the game. They just stayed in the parking lot and tailgated and watched OU, A&M, whoever they really wanted to watch, right? Because that was back when, Dodge left South Lake, went to North Texas, and he was a coach there. And I think he thought he was going to be able to get all these kids from the area and build a system there. And it didn't take off like probably had planned, but.
Yeah, it's tough. Eric Morse is there now, and he's a tech guy, and it's like, every time someone there like elevates, they're just now with the transfer portal, they're gone.
Yeah.
But as we ended up following their basketball team a lot this year because Angie, who works here, her son was their leading scorer and had a real good season. It's a kid named Adam.
Yeah, I think
they're pretty good.
They were good when I was there.
Yeah.
I think they almost made the tournament then, but
they won the NIT with Grant.
Yeah.
Oh, Irving High alumnus.
There you go. That works.
But okay, so what did you major in?
I was finance.
Okay.
I was like,
what made you pick that?
I enjoyed the numbers part of it. I knew I wanted to get into something real estate driven, or at least something that was going to have a sales side to it. I feel like the finance degree was kind of something, if it didn't work out in real estate, I had maybe a broader platform or something to fall back on. My dad was an accountant, probably kind of just by watching him, it kind of like, that made sense. I didn't like the accounting side of it, but probably just felt like it gave me an opportunity. If real estate didn't work out, I could have some other options.
I think it's a really good point because and if anyone ever asks me if like, hey, I'm going to get a business degree, but what kind of degree should I get? I'm like, get finance or accounting. I don't think you need to waste time with a marketing or a management or anything like that degree. Like one of these two will always drive a lot of those other things. And, I just don't think there's a ton of, it's like, if I get a resume that's a finance major or a marketing major, I'm probably taking the finance major.
Yeah.
So,
I enjoy it. My mind kind of gravitated towards that a bit. Like numbers tell a story.
Yeah.
And if you can follow it and you can figure it out, I don't know, it kind of made sense to me.
Yeah.
But, I was coming out in 08, 09.
It's a great time.
Oh, everyone was like going to these job fairs. I'm like, what the hell are we wasting our time for? Like, markets at like, I think the Dow was at like 6,000 or something. It's like every day it was so volatile and no one was hiring. And, it's like I could go to Fidelity and be an analyst, or most people were just going back to go to MBA and forego paying on student loans, right? That was their only option. And then I started probably my junior year, like had some buddies in real estate. I would intern and did a stint at Marcus & Millichap in Fort Worth over summer. I was like, this ain't for me.
Yeah.
And kind of started trying to find a way like, okay, well, if I want to be in real estate, this isn't what I want, but like what else is there? So I just started meeting with as many folks as I could and end up, I interned with Lee my last senior year and just end up staying there. So been there ever since.
Yeah. Steady Eddie. You're loyal.
Yeah, right or wrong. That's all I know. I think I was so, when I was getting out and I was graduating, I was like, man, I think in my mind, like the loneliest day would have been that Monday after graduation and not having a job.
Yeah.
When in reality, that's not true. I'm like, maybe they're taking some time off, like would have been healthy or something or helpful. But I was like, man, my dad's like, okay, so you're taking a job that there is no salary, there is no benefits. What are you doing? Like,
yeah.
I was like, I think this is what I want to do, Dad.
Yeah.
So he let me stay post up at their place for 10 months, 11 months before I got my feet underneath me, and then I was able to move out. But I was like, man, I don't want to let you down. I was like, I don't want to fail.
Yeah.
And that was my only goal.
Yeah.
Because he was very much like, he stayed with he worked for the Hunts and he was there for like 35, 36 years, something like that. And, then it was like, hey, the benefits was just as important as the salary kind of deal. Because he started so long ago that, companies just don't do that anymore with the pensions and everything else. But anyways, that's what I did. And was able to kind of say, if I could figure this out in a really, really bad market when it turned, we'd be okay.
Yeah, no, that's what, I started in 2010.
Yeah.
And I was
about
just
same time.
Yeah. Just catching they'd give buildings away at that point.
Yeah.
I feel like, Brook Hollow had like, at one point in time, had like 85 printers down there between the Brook Hollow and Design District. And man, there's so many printers that went out of business during
Isn't
that
that crazy?
time. It was wild.
I remember Hillwood buying that old Cyrus One building up at Frankfurt, 600,000 feet for like $20 a foot.
I remember the Circuit City Distribution Center in Redbird, that big 500,000 footer.
Yeah.
They went Circuit City, went BK on that deal. Some dude bought it on a sale leaseback. I think it sold for like $20 or something.
Holt bought the stuff off Crosby for about the same number. And like, gosh, those values are so far in between what we're at now. It's crazy.
It's insane. You think about values now. It's like, paying $150 for a foot for a building is just kind of like, oh, it's kind of what it is. Like, is it gonna be $300 a foot in 10 years? Like,
man, I don't know.
That just sounds insane. I guess it really depends what money does, right? Like,
yeah, I always just keep thinking like, man, what these operators, right? It's the local groups, it's the regional groups. At some point, okay, are they even profitable anymore? And you start looking at their expenses and like, okay, yeah, market says it's $15 a foot to go lease that building, but those guys can't support it. And can they actually go get an increase from their customers to go support their expenses going? Like, I don't know. Some of them's gonna be a no.
I did a renewal for a client at Inwood Trade Center. They're in 17,000 feet. They're paying like $550 net, and it went to $1050 net.
Yeah.
And like, it was like an $85,000 increase. And I'm like, man, like, you just took the business owner's salary out of the equation.
Yeah. Or you had to fire someone.
And I'm like, at some point, people will just go, this ain't worth it, man. I'll just go work somewhere.
Yeah.
Why take the risk?
Yeah.
And then that building just sold again. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what's the next renewal going to be? What are they going to want?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. You look at these other coastal markets too, like where you've got more volatility in the rental rates and everything. But, at some point, it starts to stabilize. But we're not a LA where we're going to be, I don't think, leasing 250s for $25 net.
Yeah.
It's just, we have too much land that we can keep going out.
It's interesting. So, a lot of what's driven these rental rates is capital groups, coming in and buying all these things.
Yeah.
And I look at Brook Hollow. Like, we don't own anything at Brook Hollow because I'm like, I leased it forever.
Yeah.
Like,
you know what it traded for 10 years ago.
Yeah. And so that's part of, I'm sure there's been some great buys bought that I just didn't pay attention to or whatever. But I just look at some of the rental rates they want now, and I'm like, man, the Brook Hollow makeup is an owner, user, entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And then you want like corporate real estate. Those guys want a deal.
Yeah.
And then y'all are charging corporate tenant rates with entrepreneur buildings.
Yeah.
So, you're 14, 16 clear with a 70-foot truck court, but you want
airport
rates
on a new shell, right?
On a new shell. And I'm just like, wow, if I'm a corporate tenant, I'm just driving down the road 10 minutes,
Something. Yeah.
So
that's easy.
Very easy. So it's, but there's a lot of vacancy now in Brook Hollow because of that. So it's like, I don't know. It's interesting. I guess they'll get them leased eventually, but
that, or people are, it's thresholds, like, right, what is the owner's trying to get to some yield, and at some point, okay, a vacant building is going to catch up to that yield, so you might as well just go cut the deal. And I don't know,
that's I got a vacant building right now in Fort Worth, and I'm like, someone just make me an offer.
Just,
you're going to be in this thing.
Just keep the, I don't know. It depends on like the situation. Like, hey, get someone in there and cover the carry, right? Yeah, you're not making a 12% return, but your 10% is just fine, and it's better than a vacant building that attracts all kinds, and then you've got a bunch of, I don't know, copper gets stripped, whatever it may be. It's a headache. So
it's terrible. It's what happened to us on that building too. We got it fixed, but it was just like, man, vacant buildings are they're an ass whip, dude. They are an ass whip, and it's like right now. We got a couple of them, and we see a new deal come through, and it's gonna be vacant. I'm like, no interest. No interest right now. I ain't got the time for that. It's a lot of work, man.
It's a lot. There's I don't know. I feel like when you're looking at those deals, it's you kind of do your underwriting. Okay, what is market?
Mm-hmm.
And like, okay, let's figure out what that yield looks like. Where are we getting to? But it's a lot better. I don't know. I think you look at it like, okay, that's the high end. Let's figure out where the average is going to be. So if we think the market's 12, let's underwrite that thing and make it work at 10.50, 11, and just be happy if you get above it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a value of if you're going to own it, I'd rather from the ownership side of it be the guy that can go lease his building out for cheaper and still make his return and be just as happy.
Totally.
So.
No, it's there's definitely, I call it, it's definitely, we're definitely in a case right now when you should make a deal to live to fight another day, I think.
Yeah.
I'd be flexible. I'd do a year deal. I'd do a 2-year deal. Like, I don't care, man. Just,
Yeah.
All
day long.
Yeah. What do you need, man? Just come on, let's go. And, and those things, they become a real thorn in your side because you just have to keep looking at them and looking at them and looking at them.
Well, especially like, I don't know, it depends on the size, depends on what it is, but someone does a year deal, it's not, especially if it's not just project driven, it's a pretty high likelihood that they renew. And you may wake up and they've been there for 5-6 years, and
totally.
And then the position for everyone's different. But I'd have no problem. Like if I owned it, I'd do a 1-year deal all day long just to carry it, keep the expenses, and keep a warm body in that building.
Yeah.
So
tell me about your first year at Lee. Like, where did they send you off to?
Yeah, God, it was. So I teamed up with Trey Fricky, and we were, it's definitely a market was tough, right? Yeah. No one was doing anything. It was 1-year leases. I'm sitting there just trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? We had this mindset, like, we're going to chase larger institutional, regional tenants and users, and then be really selective on how we're handling like agency leasing stuff. But all of it was going to be geared towards wanting to chase the larger user set. So started out kind of airport, GSW, and looking at, then from there kind of farming out all of DFW and really looking at it from a regional perspective. So most of my, like, just early on, it's just, I was in a phone room just pounding calls.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't so much door by door on the streets. There was a level of that, but the majority of my calls was just over the phone, and then just trying to get in front of people, just trying to set meetings. And so I'd have my script, and it was something I had to learn how to cold call and like get comfortable with the rejection. And that was not. It took me a while. I think it's hard for anyone. I always say, like, the lead cycle and sales cycle is so long in this business that you don't start to enjoy the cold call until you actually see the fruit of your labor.
Yeah.
So if you know, like, hey, if I make this call, like, it may not be tomorrow and it may not be next year, but at some point I can grow this relationship into something.
Yeah.
And it's when you're young getting in, and it's like, you're just getting no, or we work with this group, touch base with us in a year kind of deal. Like, you can get burned out really quickly. So first year, it was all I was trying to do is set meetings, and then I'd get roped into, we'd get deals, and I'd work them and learn as I go. And but it was tough, man. I think my first year, I may have made $5,000, and a lot of that was just like maybe it was like the first 9 months, and someone's just get paid. Like Trey included me on something just because he knew I was doing.
Yeah, he's like, all right, man, you've been trying. Come on.
But towards the end of that first year, we were fortunate enough, we got hired on some tenant user stuff, and we were able to help some groups acquire some buildings, and they were paying cash, and it was kind of helped me around that 12-month, 15-month mark.
Yeah,
to start to feel a little bit like, okay, maybe we'll make this work.
Work. Yeah, no, I think you're very accurate in talking about really getting your script down in the beginning, and like being able to have the confidence to like keep going through the calls, because I mean you're getting well just cut away every time.
And that was also like, that was back before you had all these, there's a lot more helpful tools out there to help get to decision makers. LinkedIn it was kind of coming on at the time, but it was like, hey, went to Google and like, okay, who's Michael's? What's the headquarters and phone? And just let's start from the main line and let's get our way through decision maker and everything else. And so I'd have my script and and then I would kind of have, okay, a little bit, like if I get some questions asked to me about the market or something, I had like 2 or 3 bullet points, but if it got off script, I was like, oh, I'd start sweating and I'm like, can we just set the meeting and we can talk about this then? Like, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
So I learned as I went, but I think the cold calling, like specifically for me, then it was like something like I had to kind of warm up to it and feel more comfortable as I grew into the business because, I don't know, it's especially as I look young, I've got a baby face. I won't be able to grow a beard till I'm probably 50 or something. But like if I go into someone's office, I sit across from them, I think the best way someone can come in and like provide credibility is like, hey, you know your shit.
Yeah.
Like I know the market, or I know I can communicate what's going on and what tenants or users are looking for and what they should be out looking for. Because ultimately you're trying to, whether that person that owns their business is 30, 50, 60, or they're in a spot where they're going to be hiring a broker, they've got to trust you.
Yeah.
So to me, that was the biggest thing. It's like, okay, if I went through the process a few times and felt a little bit more comfortable about what we're like, why we're setting the meeting or what we're trying to do, it just gave me a little bit more confidence.
I think being able to display relevance in the market that you're working in is probably the most effective thing you can have when you get to sit down in front of a decision maker.
Yeah.
And I always kind of I knew Brook Hollow so well and so intimately, and I made so many calls down there that I felt like when I met with people, even if they didn't like me, I could spit so much knowledge they almost were afraid not to use me because they're like, man, God, I'm gonna miss something if I don't use this person.
Yeah.
And that's where I think you really want to strive to be at with whatever vertical you're really going after. And
there's so much of that. And I think there's also like, and we tell the young guys in our office now, like, man, just this is a long game. Have a really like just the lens in which we view all this should be a long-term approach.
Yeah.
If a broker's going in on cold calling, or it's in person or over the phone, and it's really, you can kind of get the sense, is this a transaction or is this like hey, we're actually trying to be relational here and build a relationship that's going to be long-term. So like, and it's hard to get there because trust me, like we're all, like when I was starting out, like, I needed funds to pay bills, right?
Yeah.
And so you need to make deals, but then there's this mindset that kind of shifted like, okay, whether they hire me or hire someone else, I'll still be here 5 years down the road, whatever it may be, but just having a really long-term approach. Like, hey, we're here to add value. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So really just trying to go in and make sure that, hey, we're here to build a relationship first. And if you hire us, great. That's our plan. That's our hope. But even if it didn't, just have this idea that like, okay, I don't absolutely need this deal.
Yeah.
But
I think there's a lot to that too. But I would go in and everybody's like, oh, I got a guy. I'm like, great. I just want to be the bridesmaid.
Yeah.
Can I be the bridesmaid?
Like, can we still meet? It's worth 5 minutes.
Yeah. Come on, man. Like, not to be morbid, but people pass away.
Yeah.
Like stuff happens. I mean, Jeff's literally won 2 large assignments in his career because their broker passed away,
Well, and also like, hey, we may be able to share some things with you that maybe your other broker's not thinking about. And that's okay. Like, take my idea, give it to him. But let's chat through it for 5-10 minutes. And, you never know. Things change.
Yeah.
So,
I think when you're calling and the call is directly for some kind of straight kill, I think it just, you might not even get the meeting because I made this mistake the other day. Like there's a guy that was interested in hearing about what we do on the equity side. He goes, well, what are you raising for right now? I was like, well, I'm raising for this. He goes, well, I'm not interested in that. I was like, well, can we still meet? He's like, no. I was like, I should have just been like, hey, we're an alternatives platform. You want to talk about stuff?
Yeah.
Like, because I don't need his money, but like, I'd like to have it.
Yeah.
But like, to your point, like, it's like, you kind of don't act like you don't need the deal. You want the deal. But like, hey, I made that mistake and it's kind of, I've been retooling with it for like literally the last 2 weeks. I'm like, we got to change the messaging on some things, I'm giving when you do that, you give the prospect the immediate opportunity to say no.
Yeah.
Versus the ability to get in and build that relationship.
Yeah. And they can, most people can sense that, right? Or they can see it, and it matters.
Yeah.
So,
I think these things just it takes like 2 years sometimes of just being in front of them. I mean, and the thing is too, is what I always think about is like, brokers get so focused on real estate because we think about it constantly. But these business owners and operators, they're like, I don't need, I'm thinking about like my line of credit. I'm thinking about getting I'm getting product out the door. Like, real estate. So it's like, you gotta, I think you got to be creative with your approach to be, to have some other things just to talk about. Right. But that comes with just constantly creating good ideas, creating good to your point. Hey, here's my idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's so easy for brokers just to like chase the lease expirations, right? Like, hey, I know there's a critical date coming. They need to do something. And probably 80% of the market's calling on that date anyways, right? They know about it.
Yeah.
But I think the real value is along the way. If we're reaching out not just based on critical dates, and we're really trying to ingrain ourselves into their business.
Yeah.
So whether it's a transportation item or it's an incentive, like, or maybe even just like keeping them abreast, like, hey, here's what your competitor's doing. Something, right? Something where it's not always just focused on their real estate event. I think it's a better way to communicate to them, whether you're directly communicating or just showing them like, hey, I genuinely care.
Yeah.
I understand the impact of how you're doing and how that impacts the real estate, and try and be a more full-on service provider. That's just, yes, our core competency is to know what that building trades for, but along the way, we're going to help you along with, X, Y, Z, and help you bridge the gap on all those items. So,
tell me if this assumption is right. You give them you give them all these other things that you want to help them with. And I think they probably appreciate that. Then they never use it. Most of the time.
It's like, hey, and maybe it's not so much, hey, we're not going to claim to be an expert on that, or whether it's construction or something, but we know not to be dangerous.
Yeah.
We can get us 70% there.
Yeah.
And where we need to find that expert, let's go build that team.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, you can't be all things to all people.
No.
And if we go in and tell you that, like if someone's saying they'll do all that, like, okay, run with that and let's just see how that goes.
But I remember Boozer came back to the office one night with a Jackson Cooksey tenant rep presentation.
Yeah.
I was reading through it. I was like, these guys said they'll do your phone cabling for you. I was like, this is...
Yeah. Or pay all the legal costs. I'm like, all right, let's go run that up. Let's just see how that works.
Yeah.
We've competed against it. We've won against them and we've lost against them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we can. I don't think I could sell that really well.
Right. Like,
I just don't think I can.
I don't even want to be involved when that happens.
And I'm like, man, if I tell someone that and then they actually take me up on it, and then I've got to learn as I go, I'm getting in a bad way there, I think.
I just thought, that was just one thing that stood out to me. I was like, y'all want to like handle putting their phone system in?
Yeah. I just don't want that liability.
Like, I don't know.
No one does.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. That was back when we had phone systems.
Yeah.
That was about the time, No, most people don't.
Yeah.
Well, most younger guys don't know who Jackson Cooksey is. But, I thought that was very interesting. I remember I got fired by a client. I got fired by a client one time when we'd already agreed to the deal and we were waiting on the lease, and they fired me in that window. LOIs agreed to, waiting on the lease, then they fired me. They go, hey, you have to work the rest of this with CB. And I was like, are you kidding me?
He's like, no.
I was like, what are they going to do? He goes, well, they have a better LOI. I go, well, we're past LOIs. They're like, well, there's more in depth. And I was like, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. So Yeah,
Did you have to split it or just?
Yes, I did. I had to split my fee with some dude at CBRE. I told him, I said, I hope your family has a Merry fucking Christmas. Because I just paid for it.
You would think that the broker coming in would be like, man, I'm sorry. But
he was real nice about it, but he wasn't nice enough not to take the money.
Yeah. So that would have been a nice gesture.
Yeah, it should have been the gesture.
Yeah, should have been.
He wasn't qualified to do the industrial deal.
Yeah.
And they had a retail component, so he's like a retail broker. And I was just like, this is some bullshit.
Yeah. Gosh. Merry Christmas.
But that's part of the game.
Yeah.
You know, it happens. But like the listing broker was like, and I didn't get it. I knew the listing broker was great the whole time, and I didn't get my commission agreement signed immediately.
Yeah.
He's like, damn, dude, if we would have signed the commission agreement, he's like, I'm in a weird spot.
Yeah, that's probably a good reminder.
Weird. Like, you know, but you just expect everyone, you know, that was a very unique situation. Getting fired in between while the lease is getting drafted.
Yeah. But at some point, you're also like, man, can that? I get it, the tenant saying it, but it's like the ownership could also have the opportunity, like, hey, you know what? No, Jeremy worked this whole deal.
Yeah.
Right. It's probably a good reminder.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We all done it. Like, how many times you just trust people? Like, hey, we don't need a commission agreement. Like, we know this guy. They're fine. They're going to pay it.
Yeah.
I don't know. We did it. Still even do it on the institutional side.
Well, you know what I got now for that?
What's that?
This platform.
Yeah.
You screw me on a commission agreement, I'm gonna put you on blast.
Yeah. Your reputation is worth more than 4.5%, right?
I hope so.
Right? It should.
I hope so.
It doesn't take long for that to go backwards.
It hadn't happened yet, but I swear, if someone does that to me, I've had some people do some things to me in the past that if I would have had this, I would have put their ass on blast.
Yeah.
So
it matters.
Well, I love the fact that you guys were like big deals only. Let's go do big deals.
I mean, we try, but it's like I'm a deal junkie, so if it's 10,000 feet, 20,000 feet, like I don't turn it down.
Is Trey like 300,000 foot minimum?
I mean, he's that's the focus, but it's like I don't know. You've seen it too often. Like,
how
many times we all have the story of someone we helped that was it's a 15,000, 20,000 square foot deal initially, and then their business takes off in 3 years. They're leasing 150,000 feet. That's what's like. I love the industrial space for. Like not only the people that you get to meet, the stories they have, how they got into doing what they're doing. Because a lot of them, it's not like they grew up making that widget or their dad made that widget. They took the family business over. Like a lot of them are like, no, I was in banking for 20 years and found this, knew this guy, started doing it, and business took off. Like, so it's like I want to do every deal I can, as long as I've got the bandwidth, the capacity, and I can actually do it. Now, if it's like I don't know. I don't really go east of the toll road at all. Kind of get a headache. But so if it's like that part of town, I'm probably calling Brett in my office or Taylor and let them run with it. But I don't know. I want to do every deal I can.
Yeah, it's what I always thought was cool about it is you get to see how so many different people make money. Like just different things. You're like, what? Like,
yeah,
that was an idea.
Yeah,
like,
I know. Or just in how they fell into it. It's. I don't know. I find it fascinating. I love hearing people's stories, and it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
it just kind of also like just as a broker, you're like, okay, well, keep your eyes open. It's I don't know. Not you don't have to run this lane and not be able to shift or pivot and be able to do other things. Like you always have different traits you could pick up. So
no, it's for me, it's just, man, it was just fascinating learning more and more about businesses. It's fun to see companies grow. You know, you're talking about, you take the group in 10, then you move them to 30, then you move them to 50, and then they go to 100, and
to me, it's also like, kind of going back to like a finance background. You can look at these from like because in a way, it's like if you ingrain yourself in their business, you understand how it can work. And maybe you're not trying to like understand how the plastics world works and the cost of goods and where it's coming from. But if you can understand how can we put you in a position that's going to help maximize your ability to grow, maintain costs, all of those things. It's something similar to what you're kind of into now and looking at these businesses from like almost like a PE perspective where how can we take this group and take it from 10 million to 40 million, and there's an exit there. And I don't know, it's kind of fun to think about that.
One thing that I always told people as well, I'd meet with a lot of these owner user guys. They're like, I want to buy a building. I'm like, well, why do you want to buy a building? Well, I want to own real estate. Okay. Do you turn your inventory? Yeah. How many times a year do you turn it? Oh, 7 to 10. Okay. What's your gross margin? 30%.
Yeah.
I go, so you turn 7 to 10 times at 30%, but you want to go invest in an 8.5% yield?
Yeah.
They're like, what? I go, well, maybe you just need to lease if you leased a bigger building, could you still turn 7 to 10 times a year, but turn, a couple $1 million more a year and making 30% margin? I go, might be more profitable.
Sounds better.
Yeah. So I talked myself out of some buyer rep assignments, or they might stay put, but they might go lease. All right, hey, that's not a bad idea. Let's go lease some more space.
Yeah.
So
it makes a ton of sense.
I that's why I go back to like the finance side of things, man. I think that's real critical, and I think for any broker out there that did not get that background, it's out. The information you have, ChatGPT, YouTube, the information's out there. Learn these things because it matters.
Well, especially like it depends on, again, like what you're doing, but if you can't sit at a table, like whether it's a tenant, landlord, whatever it is, and be able to help them like articulate, hey, if we like, you got to be able to speak cost of funds, amortization, cap rates, like all of that. The sooner you can, and you overlay that against like what in the market.
Yeah,
I think you elevate yourself to just a guy that's knocking on doors to a guy that can actually like help me position my real estate the way I need to.
Yeah.
So I think whether or not you like it or not, I think you got to do it. You need to do it if you really want to have longevity and be successful.
Yeah, no, I think for me, I'd owned an operating company, so it was very relevant for me to walk into a business owner and be like, one, I've moved my warehouse twice. Like I've done this. Like I know what I'm fixing to ask you to do. So that was, and then I did so much property management. I was like, I know how to enforce the lease, so I know how to represent you on where you need to look out for, because I've enforced the lease on people before. And so knowing, because let's be honest, a lot of our clients don't read anything half the time. They won't read the lease. They're like, oh, you read it. You read it right, man. It's good.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah. This legal advice is worth the exact amount you're paying for it.
I always tell them, like, man, hey, the easy, like, if like, oh, the rent table's right, or TI is right. I'm like, yeah, but every section of that lease is a money item.
Yeah.
Because if something comes up, it's either tenant or landlord, right? It's one or the other. So even if it's insurance, it matters. So.
Yeah. But what's fun is like, that's another thing too, I think brokers need to know, is like, read these leases and understand them.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yesterday, one of my clients called me. He has a tenant. We did a 10-year renewal on him about 6 years ago, and they're calling wanting to sublet the space. And he's negotiating with them and all this stuff. And they're like, well, they want to just get a buyout, and he's like, well, they, I think he just negotiated too hard on the buyout. So like, we're just going to sublease it. I go, okay, well, do they have a tenant? He goes, no, but they're going to move out and go find a tenant. I go, well, vacancy's a default.
Yeah.
I go, let them move out and torch their ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, oh, that's awesome. But I was just like, I go, let me read the lease and make sure they didn't strike that. But
yeah,
I'm 99% sure that's in there, But just knowing those, being able to tell him that is, just that gives him comfort to know that I'm his guy to call on these things.
Brokers have to be reminded, like, man, you can't, once the LOI is done, it's not like the deal's done. Like, you got to stay all the way through. And it's not, you can't just leave it up to the attorney, because people are people and people are busy. And you get, as much as you got to help that attorney out all the way through, because sometimes it may be a real estate attorney that knows exactly what they're doing and they're advising the client the right way. But sometimes we've all had it, like, where it's the owner of the business has a family friend who's an attorney, maybe he's family law attorney or whatever, trying to play real estate, and like, well, he missed this, and this, so.
Or he negotiated this point that is so way out of market.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, that's a very frustrating thing, is when you get stuck with an attorney who doesn't really do this.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a funny story. Here's how I like to deal with attorneys sometimes on it when they're coming at me on things, especially on call a property management issue. When someone hires an attorney that, like let's say a tenant hires an attorney, talk to me about something, and they don't really know what they're talking about. I don't hire an attorney.
Yeah.
I just talk to them and I keep them on the phone as long as possible and keep them going and run that bill up. And I was talking to this attorney one time. I had him on the phone. I was an hour and a half in on the phone with him. I was like, I can't believe I was riling him up. It was pretty funny. And he goes, well, do you have counsel? I go, do you think I need counsel to go over this lease with you? I know this lease better than you do.
Yeah.
I go, I've done this lease 250 times. I go, this is day one for you on this thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need an attorney.
Get an education.
Yeah. And so it's a fun tactic whenever that they're on the opposing side. But when you're representing your client and they bring in an attorney that doesn't, sometimes those attorneys don't care about you as a broker either.
No.
You got to be real careful with that. I had an attorney one time take control of a deal, take control of the PSA, and he ended up taking control of my commission in the deal. And I said, hey, he sent me one email. He would never respond to me. Very arrogant. I don't know what it is. Seems like every attorney that went to Harvard, this guy went to Harvard, they're just like, oh, you general population folks, you peasants. But it came down to a massive commission dispute. I had to get, the other broker was like, he wouldn't tell me what his fee is. And this is a broker at, this is a broker at Cushman and Wakefield, and he totally screwed me. And it's because this attorney, the way this attorney wrote the commission language, and I had to scratch and claw to get. And my client ended up buying the business as well, so my client had to call the business owner, and it just turned into a mess. But it all came down to I let this attorney drive the bus.
Yeah.
And so I think, to your point, an LOI sign, don't just let that thing get handed off, because it can get killed real quick, or it could financially affect you.
Yeah. Yeah, easily.
So, what's one of your funniest cold calling stories?
Man, that's a good question. I think kind of like what I was saying before is like there'd be times where I was like, I'd get off my script, or they'd ask me something. I'm like, I just got to hang up. So I think one of the funniest things is Trey and I were actually, this is kind of like it was probably a cold call that turned in, like they let us in and start looking at they're showing us their warehouse, and we're about to sit down with these guys, and they were in the farmer suit, pre-workout stuff,
Supplements.
Yeah, supplements.
Whey protein.
None of it's regulated, right?
And
anyways, we were kind of they gave us a tour, and it was kind of past the cold call. They were kind of trying to feel each other out, and we were about to sit down, and they were expecting to grow and need more space. And we sit down and literally talking for 2 minutes. And then you had these auditors come in just through the door and raid the office. And we're they're like, oh guys, we got to shut this down. Y'all come back tomorrow, okay? So we're walking. I was like, I got a feeling these guys don't need space anymore.
Maybe they need a sublease.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe so. Gosh, that's probably just one of the. I don't know. That's probably more I would say awkward, kind of weird.
That is funny
spots to be in. But anyways, needless to say, we didn't do a deal with those guys.
The auditors. Well, yeah. I mean, I always, everybody thought I was the FBI when I was coming through the dock. They're like, hey, boss.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't even know me.
Yeah, you probably opened some doors really easily.
Yeah.
Me, I look like I'm probably coming in trying to sell paper or something, I'm
walking in. I'm walking into the dock door, and they're like, oh, hey, what's up, boss? He's in there. Like, who? You don't even know who I'm asking for. No, but you need to talk to that guy.
Well, sometimes it's just if you just act like you're supposed to be there,
it's like buying beer
probably
underage.
Half of it. That's half of it.
It's like buying beer underage.
So it's
just act like you're supposed to be there.
Say 3 words instead of 10, right? Mm-hmm. If 3 do, that's all you need.
Yeah.
Be direct and act like you should be there. And it probably goes a pretty long way. But
what's one of your favorite deals you've ever done?
Man, I can tell you one of the deals that I would say I probably had the most adrenaline, most fun doing is we were helping a an on like an e-commerce betting group, secure site here in DFW. We didn't have the exclusive. We knew they were working with other brokers, so it was like, hey, we want a bulk building, we want a deal, we want something that's not everyone's seen us or shown us. Like we've got CoStar, we're looking to. This was probably, I don't know, 7 years ago. And it's about time when Toys R Us was going bankrupt. And we were able to get in front of the group that was handling the bankruptcy out of New York. So they were handling 6 distribution centers across the country on an auction basis. And then they were selling all the retail stores. So we, before kind of that news kind of hit the market as far as who was going to be handling it, we got that group's authorization. Like, hey, we're going to work this together. This is the building. It's down in South Dallas. And I said, whether or not it works or not, we just want to be covered. If you're going to pursue that, we're working together. They said, great, that's what we'll do. So we went through the whole process of getting on. Have you ever been through like an auction process?
Not on a lease, no.
Okay. So the group that was handling it, there was call it a 2-month process to kind of submit your bid. You have a chance to be a stalking horse, and that stalking horse kind of sets the bar.
So you're bidding on the rights to take over the lease?
No, so actually Toys R Us owned the building.
Oh, they owned the building. Okay.
Yeah, so they went BK, creditors got involved, and it's a group out of New York. I think they also did the Radio Shack stuff back in like 2011, 12 when that happened as well. But we kind of went through the process of registering them, helping them evaluate the building. Like, hey, here's what we think the building's worth. If you can buy it for anything less than that, right, that's great. But here's what the market says it should trade for. So anyways, we get on this, I think it was like a Thursday morning, and the call was going to be from like 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it was a long, everyone jumps on, and they were going, I think, Jersey, LA, Chicago, then Dallas. And it was to auction off these 5 DCs. And so you don't know who you're bidding against. We knew there was 2 or 3 groups. And so they finally get to Dallas, and that's when everyone announces who they are. So then our guys say, hey, we're Maloof Betting. And then the second group was like, we're Google. I was like, oh, shit. Google had just announced that they were building their data center across the street.
Oh, God.
And all they wanted this building was to stage product.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, we are screwed. I was like, well, this is like, we're just not going to do this deal. Anyway, so they start the auction, and it was going in like $500,000 increments. And every time the CFO for Maloof Betting would announce a number, Google within 10 seconds would just up the bid. So I'm texting the CFO, and me, him, and Trey are on a text thread, and he's like, I'm going to go up $1 million. I'm going to go more than I have to, and hopefully that scares him off. And anyways, he did, and he announced the number, and the Google attorney's like, all right, yep, that exceeds our limit. We're done here. And our guys won. I was like sitting there, and that was a matter of probably, we sat like on the call waiting to get to Dallas for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And then when we actually got to Dallas, it was like a 7-minute conversation. And I was like, I'm sitting there like heart pumping. I was like, this is the most fun real estate deal I've ever done.
It's cool though. If you think about it, the Google guy only had authorization.
Yeah.
The guy you're dealing with was writing the check.
Oh yeah.
So he's like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And the Google guy's like, corporate, ceiling, boom, done. And
especially and they were just going to be using the building just as a garage, right? Just to store a bunch of stuff that they're doing projects all over. It's like, we don't care. It's just a number.
Yeah.
What's the cost for them to go lease another building down the street? Like that's what they're kind of benchmarking it off of.
Yeah.
So that was a fun one.
What's interesting is on the retail side of things, do you know, all these like at homes going bankrupt, right? Or, Burling, or who, was it one of those people, Container Store or whoever, they go bankrupt. In those retail leases, I know this is a sale situation, but you've seen people go BK in distribution centers, and the lease, it's just like they just go BK and landlord takes it over and leases it back out. In retail, they take those leases and they auction the leases.
Yeah.
So if you're paying $7 a foot in a big box, and the box is now 15, you can sell that spread.
Yeah.
Or you can sell somewhere in that spread. And then you as the landlord can bid on that spread and be one of the buyers to buy your own lease. It's wild to me. I'm like, this is such bullshit.
Yeah.
You defaulted, but you get to like profit off of this?
Yeah, you get to benefit from your that's funny.
Yeah. So maybe that's a new trick. Hey, tenant rep.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, if you go BK, we want to negotiate we want to have the rights to sell your mark-to-market lease value.
Yeah. That's funny. It's always fun. Yeah, you see a tenant or broker like heavily negotiating their remedies in a default position in the lease. Like, we don't think we're going to be there, but we need this to work.
Why are you negotiating the late fee so hard?
Yeah.
Do you plan to pay late? No, but sometimes wire transfers don't happen on time.
Banks are closed.
Okay, well, like if I'm reasonable. If you've paid for 2 years in a row and something happens and then you pay me like 3 days later, I'm not like gunning on a late fee, but like got to have the hammer there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too expensive.
Yeah.
Why? Don't be late.
Yeah. Pay your rent. Pay your rent, and all these issues in the lease are non-issues.
It is. It really is. It's all that has to happen. So, was there like a specific setback or failure in life that you ever kind of look to and go, man, I really learned a lot from that, and that's
yeah, great. That's a good question. I wouldn't say not like a specific failure. I was actually I was in an accident like 4 years ago, and I got burned real bad, and I was in the ICU for like 10 days, and
really,
as someone like being young, you always kind of like you hear like number your days and like have perspective, and that is something you think about, but you kind of get reminded like everyone's life can change with a phone call or an instance that you're not you're not expecting to happen, right? And so you kind of just me getting like I was young, and it's like work was everything, or it is, and like I would bring it home with me. I'd work late, work early, and I was convicted. Like I had a hard time being present sometimes. Like at home, like I just work like constantly. Deals or just work is on my mind, and I miss what's in front of me, which is my family, young kids, and like so. Anyways, I was. Yeah, it was an accident. I got burned, and I didn't know it was as bad as it was. I ended up having to go to the ER. I was in the hospital for 10 days. But just that situation and kind of walking through that, and there was a bunch of recovery from that, but really opened my eyes. Like, okay, real estate's not everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, I got to be able to get home and compartmentalize and really fight to be present with like you get these kids one time and they're only 3 for a period of time, and then like it just life happens quick, right? We've all heard it. For me, this was something like just really opened my eyes. Like it grounded me again. Like, hey, real estate's real estate.
Yeah.
So
it is so fleeting. I told this when Todd Hubbard was in here the other day, and I told this in there, but I'll tell you this. I was on vacation a couple of weeks ago, and I had this dream, and it was my son, and he was like 3 years old. My son's 17 now.
Yeah.
And he's like sitting up on this something, and I'm sitting there just like, I don't know. It's like he's sitting up on a jungle gym or something, right? And he doesn't know that I'm his dad.
Yeah.
But he starts telling me about all the things he does with his dad. I love to go fishing with my dad, I go hunting with my dad, all these things. I was like, oh man, it's awesome. And then I get him down, and he's like starts walking off, and I was like, hey man, tell me about the last time you went fishing with your dad. And that's when I woke up, and I was like, damn. I was trying to go back to sleep. I was like, God, I got to go back and get that, because you just like, it's hard to remember. Like, I don't know how old are your kids?
11, 9, 7.
I mean, like you're 11-year-old. It's probably hard for you to go look and go, when you were 3 years old, this is what you looked and sounded like. Like you just forget. Like it's hard for me now to think about what he was like at 14. It's hard for me to like there was this big demark for me with my daughter, where it was like when her braces came off, like she changed.
Yeah.
I was like, golly, man, this is like,
I know. And my 11-year-old's going to be going into 6th grade next year. So there's a bunch of transition there. But I remember, God, I don't know how long ago this was, but I mean, all of our kids have probably said this, but you're in the room or your living room and you're on your phone, like whether it's working and they're like, "Hey, Daddy, get off your phone."
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just conviction from a 5-year-old. Like, it's like, I don't know. So even at home, like we're trying to put up like really good boundaries for, like making sure that we're intentional and, we don't get this time back and tomorrow's not promised.
No.
So yeah, I mean, so not a like a work setback, but just something that probably, that brought things into perspective really quickly.
Yeah.
So
no, that's awesome. What about a book you've read? Is there any book you've read that you really like?
Yeah, my favorite's Boys in the Boat.
Boys in the Boat. I have not heard that one.
Yeah, it's I'm not big on like the the self-motivation books and all that. Like I want stories.
Yeah.
I like it typically like based off real stuff. And anyways, it's about the University of Washington rowing team in the mid 1930s, and all the rowing competition and getting to the Olympics. And it's all about grit, formation of a team and the different positions in the boat should be different people, whether it's stature or what they're good at, their strength and all that. So, there's actually I think Clooney came out with a movie on it maybe 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a great book. I'm more of an audio guy, like, because all the drive time we've got, but it's a lengthy read, but it's really good.
It's funny. Jeff and I were talking. It was like, I don't read anymore because I feel like all my reading gets spent on reading documents, and by the time I'm done doing that, I don't read a book.
I know. I'm convicted of that too. I mean, my wife reads all the time, and she's like, "Readers are leaders," and I'm like, "That's true." But also, like at the end of the day, I'm like,
"But I read a 40-page document.
I kind of just want to watch this 5-minute golf thing on YouTube."
That's tough, man. It's like I've been reading a book for like 6 months now, and I'm like, it's like by the time I get to where I could read something, I'm like,
I know. And then you're like, all right, I'm going to read this, and then I've got to reread it tomorrow.
Yeah,
because I'll forget it.
Yeah, totally.
So I need to read more. It's a goal of mine. I feel like it's always on my goal sheet. I'm like, it's there. It's still there.
Yeah,
and I'm still not tackling it very well.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough to find time for that. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Man, I think it's specifically for real estate. It's been, hey, learn the business, be a resource that people can know, like that they know that you know it, right, and they can trust you. Don't chase the money. Like if you follow like what is it going to take for you to be successful, and you know the market, and you know the business, the money will come, like the deals will come. But getting like, especially early on, it's hard to have that mindset and approach because, like, I mean, you're trying to cut your teeth, and like you'll work on any deal and you need to see it through, and you want to make sure, like, you want to know that this is actually going to work for me.
Yeah.
It's hard to have that approach, but I think, hearing that, there's like, hey, this is a long game. We need to have a long-term approach. So I think that's been probably some of the most helpful advice I've had.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's kind of like what we talked about earlier, man. Just provide value.
Yeah. Or just provide value. And then, just show up. Like part of it, man, it's sometimes you get burned out, or it's like you're tired, or like you've had a bad week or bad day. It's like you don't want to make that call. But you should make that call. Yeah. Right? It's like part of it's just, some of it's timing, some of it's luck, some of it's just putting like the faithful steps it takes to be like, you'll get rewarded down the road. Right. It maybe not be tomorrow, but it all matters.
Well, what are you working on right now you're most excited about?
Man, we've got some fun like manufacturing stuff working.
Is there a lot of people like really trying to ramp that up right now?
Yeah.
You seeing that?
Yeah. I mean, ever since 2020, the conversation's been like, how do we get our supply chain closer, right? Is it, everyone's been trying to onshore and get it a lot closer. And So there's a ton. I mean, everyone's fighting for power.
Yeah.
You got a building with power now. It's like we always knew it was an amenity before, but now it's an amenity that you can actually get a premium for.
Yeah.
Just because some folks just don't have the lead time. And some folks just don't even, like some buildings just don't have the capability without having some offsite improvements to from an encore position or anything like that. So, but there's some, I mean, massive manufacturing deals in the works and already landed. We're helping a group with some, computer manufacturing stuff, and that stuff's, 30 gigawatts. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Or 30 megawatts, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those are fun. Not only just because these are projects that have been in the works for years. Like we'll, hopefully get a deal done this year that's been in the works for, I think, 9 years.
Wow.
It's something that's, it started, it stopped, it looked at multiple markets, and just with the environment now, it's like, okay, yeah, we're doing this thing, and tariffs or no tariffs, we need to do it. So, I would say most of the user stuff right now that's got urgency to it that we're working on is all manufacturing related.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
It's fun. You're seeing groups that are making just you kind of, not only is it out of the country stuff that maybe it's stuff from Asia coming here, but you even just get reminded, like we know that DFW is a really good spot to be. So like when we start talking about like power usage rates, not alone like is our real estate a third of what maybe New Jersey is, but also our usage rates are 5 cents less, right? So like these guys can, if you're doing PET or whatever it may be, you're manufacturing, you can increase your margins substantially by just being in a better environment.
Yeah.
So it's fun to work those groups, and whether they're private or public, it's kind of just getting ingrained in it, and it's fun.
Yeah. No, it's funny to hear you say that, because like I'd always be like, oh yeah, the building has heavy power, but most of the time we're doing distribution deals, so like no one truly cares that there's 2,000 amps of power because they're only using 400 of it.
You can get the weeds on it. It's typically, right, you're just trying to make sure that they're in a spot where, and this is probably the first time in our business, like where it's really ramped up, where, because before, 4,000 amps that's a big number.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the building was. Like that was something like you're putting on the flyer, it's heavy power. But now it's like these buildings are trying to get pathways where maybe it's like a primary service right off the transmission line to the building. And it's not a transformer outside. But like, okay, how do we get there? And what's the cost, or like, what's the cost savings by doing it? Is there a cost savings? So you're kind of just, it's a new world of which we're kind of rolling our sleeves up and trying to help figure out. Again, we're not experts in it, but we want to help. If we can speak that lingo and help get people connected to the best people as we work the transaction, everyone's better suited for it.
Well, I mean, it seems like in the past, no one ever had the power right on their buildings. Hey, what's the power here? I don't know.
Well, how many times have you been to a building with the clear rights wrong too? It's like,
oh man,
you just, I don't know. I think people are notorious for just like, well, CB had it listed a year ago and they had 28-foot clear, so I think they're right. All right, I'll just plug that number in.
We had a building under contract, and they said it was 14 to 16 clear, and I walk in there and I shoot it, and it's like, this is 12.
Yeah. Just a little off.
We're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, hey, I know it's only a $10 million deal, but you couldn't get out here and like shoot your laser on it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like first thing we did.
That's crazy.
So, well, if you weren't doing this, what would you have done in life? What do you think you would have been? If you could have been anything you wanted to be, what would you have been?
Man, that's a great question. I really thought when I was in high school that I was going to go into the fire department.
Okay.
And I have a twin brother he's in Carrollton. He's a captain there. He went down that path.
Yeah.
I really thought that would be my jam. We had a bunch of family friends that they were firefighters, and what I loved about it was like I grew up, playing sports in like the locker room setting, the baseball, like it's a community, it's a family, and it's like just the relationships you build there. Like that's what the firehouse is too. It's like you're living with this group of guys or gals, and their families.
Yeah.
And it's a hard space to be in, but it's also like I think a really rewarding space. So I thought I was going to be doing that. Probably I was kind of naive. I was like, I'm going to be playing professional baseball even when I was like a freshman or sophomore. I was like, yeah. I was still waiting on my growth spurt. I still am. It's like that's not coming. That's not going to work. So it was one of those probably, but
that's cool.
Yeah.
So what happened when you said, I'm not going to do that? When did you just get fascinated with real estate, or?
Yeah, I had a buddy. He was over at Mark's Mill Chap, and I did a stint with him intern wise. I was like, I like this real estate stuff. Like I wanted the flexibility. I wanted the freedom. My dad was a faithful worker. Like he left at 6:30, got home at 6:30. But anything in between that area, like my granddad picked me up from practice, took me to practice. My granddad was the first guy at all my baseball games.
Yeah.
My dad would always come, but he may have been, he couldn't get there unless it was after 6:30. So I always said, like, man, I don't want someone telling me I can't leave my office or I've got to be there till 5 or whatever the case may be. If I wanted to leave at 2:00 because my kids got something going on, or I just wanted all of that flexibility.
Yeah.
I didn't care what my pay started out as, and that wasn't my motivating factor. I just wanted something that over time, like I would have the freedom to make my schedule and allow it to like be something that our family benefits from.
Yeah.
So, and that's mainly from a time and availability perspective than anything else.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, real estate is not an office job.
No,
you're out constantly.
Oh, no, it's just like, I mean, you may be on a road trip, right, with your family, and you're looking at that truck, you're looking at that warehouse, you're like looking at that signage. Like, who is that? You're just always trying to connect dots. It's like you can't stop it. And it's part of like why why we enjoy it so much.
It's funny. We at Jeff's office, it's right there on Stemmons, and
it's a great building.
Oh, it's awesome. And I used to have an office there, and it's just the drive got so bad.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I'd just give my office away to someone. This ain't gonna happen. And but we were me and William Lemasters were standing there one day, and he was like, you could literally create a prospect list if you made someone sit here all day and just write down the carrier of every truck that drives by.
Yeah. Easily.
Yeah. I was like, that's a very interesting concept, but it's totally true.
Yeah. You're just always just rubbernecking and looking left.
Oh, what is that? Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It's always fun when I go to a different place and you see an industrial building in a different place. You're like, oh, I would buy that. But I don't buy here. But
let's recreate that in Dallas.
Yeah.
So, it's like, it's funny.
Well, what's something about you that most people don't know?
Yeah, I've probably shared it with either it's a fact that I've got a twin and that we're like totally polar opposite. We look like brothers, but he could go build this whole table set, and I've got no business owning a screwdriver, kind of deal. It's probably man, you get me out of work, like I'm about as simple and homebody as it gets. Like I do enjoy the traveling with family and stuff, but I think I was even telling some guys at the office, like, dude, I love the 4th of July week because it gets so quiet.
Yeah.
And if I can either get work done where emails and phones aren't blowing up, or if I can just like be in my backyard, like I don't even care if it's like watering shrubs or whatever it is, like it's so therapeutic for me. It's like it recharges me in a way.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably. Most people don't know that. I'm probably not like just really open. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of a homebody. It's pretty simple.
Have you ever thought maybe you're an introvert?
Probably am.
I'm an introvert, and like just from personality tests, and it's very interesting because I'm like, well, I do sales.
Yeah.
That's extroverted activity, but like, man, you get me out of have to get out of that cockpit. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah, I probably, there's all the personality tests, which I've probably taken like 1 or 2, but that's pretty spot on for me. Cause I don't know, like Nathan always gives me a hard time because I still mow our yard and weed eat and everything else. And like part of the best part of my week is, just putting in some music and, getting a weed eater and spending an hour in the sun, and it's I don't know. I do a lot of work in my head then.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's what my favorite's like Saturday morning. Like there's no one talking to me, and I can just think about things. And so,
man, it's crazy how just like your heart, mind, like some solitude where you can get unplugged, and it's just you and your thoughts. Like it's for me, it's recharging. You got to fight for it though, because the world's loud and everything around us, like everything in our devices is just like pushing information all day, every day.
Yeah,
right?
everything is competing for your attention.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like it's a daily conversation with my 11-year-old. Right,
Yeah.
like she's like, "Dad, when am I getting a phone?" I'm like, "Never."
Yeah,
or not for a while. It's like, man, if there's just so much, right, that's at our fingertips versus like 10, 12 years ago.
Oh, it's insane.
It's crazy. It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
So anyways,
Unfortunately, it's the world we live in though too now.
I know.
It's tough. Man, the phone's really addicting. It's a very addicting tool. You
can tell. I mean, you tell my kid to get off her iPad, whatever it is, after being on it for 20 or 30 minutes, and like, I'm telling you, she's a different person when she turns it off for the next 10 minutes. It's super addicting. So
I don't know how we get around it though, man. It's tough. It's just straight discipline to get around it. You have to you have to intentionally put it down.
Yeah.
So
otherwise it'll consume you.
Or you just go somewhere where there's no cell service.
That's right. That's probably the best thing.
It's forced.
Just get in the mountains or something.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Well, man, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming by.
Yeah. Thanks for making it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
been a pleasure.
Reid Bassinger, everybody. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Appreciate you.